And welcome, everyone. And thank you for being here today. You need help? OK. So, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to talk to you about, in the next 10 minutes, about the end of B Corps. So, where is Bart? He's freaking out. What's going on here? Well, let's see what I mean when I talk about the end of B Corps. Well, first of all, we need to celebrate. Today is Earth Day, so I think it's phenomenal that this is happening on Earth Day. It's a very fortunate coincidence. And it's also a coincidence because Nativa is all about reinventing everything we do on this planet, reinventing pretty much our society. Nativa has been the first certified benefit corporation in Italy, and is also the partner of B Lab to spread the voice and to amplify and to create new B Corps, not just in Italy, but potentially everywhere. So what do we do at Nativa? At Nativa, we do project of innovation. We design products and services. And this is embedded in our founding documents, in our constitution. This is our statute. And very interesting, what happened 3 years ago, almost, when we founded Nativa. We wrote that the purpose was to leverage business as a force for good. We wrote that we wanted to contribute to the happiness of the people working in Nativa. And what happened when we went to the Chamber of Commerce? This is the official procedure to register Nativa and make it a real company. This was rejected. So, first time they rejected our statute and they say, no, you cannot do that. This is against the law. Why? What do you mean? So we checked, we did all the controls, we went back again a second time, it was rejected again. We went back a third time, it was rejected again. And the fourth time, eventually, they were convinced that we were not violating any law, that it made perfect sense to have a business that is actually driven by a different paradigm. And so Nativa became the first example of this kind. What do we do at Nativa? We do anti-gravitation devices. So I will demonstrate this to you. Look, you see? No, actually, this is not the only thing we do. What we do, we start from this assumption. Earth Day, the planet is a finite system, and is a completely closed system, at least closed for matter, open for energy. We heard the professor at the beginning talking about circular economy, and it's super obvious. There is no other way in which we can run our activities, our businesses on the planet. Everything that we do should be redesigned, reinvented, as if we were on a spaceship. So what we do at Nativa, we call it spaceship design. So we have products and services. We design software. We help companies. We start up new companies that go in this direction. What should the world be like if we all operated as if we were astronauts? It seems quite crazy, and eventually this is driving phenomenal innovation processes pretty much all over the world. This is starting to become a very well-known perspective. Our vision, you know that there is distinction between reasonable people and unreasonable people. Reasonable people adapt themselves to reality, whether unreasonable people try and work to adapt reality to themselves. So we are very unreasonable, and what we do in our vision, we strive to live a B life. So our dream, our perspective is that one day, everything we do, everything we eat, we wear, we drive, the houses we live in, everything, the banks, and everything will be provided by companies that are regenerative in their DNA. And so we've been spreading this voice out, and we've found along the way some other companies and more that share this same perspective. So I really want to celebrate the change makers, not just here, but also in Italy. These are some of the companies that also, or by themselves, or with our help and following our example, have become certified B Corps. And these are helping us really pursue our dream, our vision. So we have companies doing food, we have companies doing ecosystem services and reforestation. They should be here in the room. We have Mondora making software. We have green buildings, education, cosmetics, and you name it. So this is really happening. It's unbelievable. Just 2-3 years ago, it seemed impossible, and now it's growing and growing. And I want to focus the attention on one specific company. This is a kind of spin-off of Nativa. We are very closely connected to the orbit, and they do high technology to remove space debris. So you see, we go from education to food to high technology and space. Like this one, the orbit is removing space junk. So this is a huge problem we are not aware about, but if we start polluting space, as we are polluting Earth, eventually space will become unusable. And this will be like going back 100 years. You can forget telecommunications, you can forget logistics and internet. It's like, jump back in time. And so these are the kind of products that the orbit is putting on the market. And these are really contributing to a thriving future for all of us. Something else we are doing, for example, we are translating through crowdfunding the B Corp handbook. And so this is something that could happen in other countries as well. Or we are helping some companies like Fratelli Carli, which is a B Corp. They've produced the first benefit report in Europe, I think, one of the first in the world. And now this is going to be printed out and distributed to 500,000 of their clients. And so 500,000 people will be informed, will learn about. So it's really, not really ringing the bells, but ringing 500,000 bells. So now I want to ask you a question. And think by yourself and try to exchange the concept, the idea with the person sitting next to you. What is the greatest positive thing, event, or change that has happened in history? Try to think a little bit about it. So try to tell to the person next to you, what is the greatest change that we have seen in history? Try to, for 30 seconds, think about it and try to exchange a few ideas with the person sitting next to you. It can be older history, recent history. It's up to you. Okay. So, when we think about business, we have to think about very, very big change. I don't know what you came up with, but if you think about business today, this is the way it's running. There is a problem, and business is the solution, but eventually what happens is that solutions become the problems. And so what is the traditional paradigm? That if force didn't work, you just have to use more. And so just more of the same. So you come with a bigger solution for a bigger problem, and you end up with an even bigger problem. So we must change that. We cannot just think about adjusting, fixing existing business. We have to come up with something completely different. How long will it take? When you think about time horizons, decades seem very far away. But if you think about the kids that are born today, and many of you have kids, I think about my kids, they will be my age today in 2046 and in 2050. Two of these kids are my kids. They will be my age today in the 50s. So what can happen between now and the 50s? Well, a couple of examples. 1948, this was flying, a B-52. And if you think 50 years before, 1898, it was absolutely inconceivable for any people on the planet that this could happen, this could be real. Or even think about this, 2007, what happened in 2007? Smartphone. It seems like 200 years ago. For us, it has been changing our lives. It's impacting our culture, transforming everything. And you see how rapidly this is happening. So now we have, the kid in the middle. I'm almost done. a kid in the middle of Kenya, a Maasai, has more access to education, learning, participation, more opportunities to connect than the President of the United States 15 years ago. So it's dramatic, and by 2020, 80% of all adults on the planet will be on smartphones. Can you imagine what it means? Can you see how rapidly this is changing? So we will not experience 100 years of progress in this century. It will be more like 20,000 years of progress. And so, thinking about B Corps, I think this guy is very inspiring. Ray Anderson of Interface, who knows him? A show of hands. Few of you. You reinvented traditional businesses in the carpet industry, and he talked about Mount sustainability, achieving sustainability for a company as a mountain to climb. And so I started to think about climbing a mountain, Mount B, and the BIA, the impact assessment, is like, a navigation tool. But eventually there is no Mount B. It does not exist. We have to create Mount B, one by one, and hundreds and thousands, and possibly hundreds of thousands. And eventually we will have that all businesses will become like that. It's super obvious. In the future, it will be inconceivable to run a business that makes a profit at the expense of people or the environment. It's just not conceivable. And eventually, B Corps will disappear. It will be just normal. It will be the only way to run a business. So you think it's impossible? Think about this, slavery. For hundreds of thousands of years, we have been relying on this business model, and now, it's not so accepted anymore. It took some time, but now it's just inconceivable to start a business which is based on slavery. It still exists, but more and more it will be impossible. So I think, what we're doing here is really doing something which is super obvious, and innovation is just doing what's normal, but doing it before everyone else does. So I thank you very much for being here and contributing to creating this phenomenal B Corps world. Thanks.